This is Marcia Stonehill with Melty Ice. Today on Operation F.L.O.W, Dr. Vivienne Pierce McDaniel, our co-host, once again has brought with us a dynamite guest, Mr. James Saxsmo Gates. James is one of Richmond's premier musicians. He is the founder, director, and coordinator of the Dr. Billy Taylor Jazz Studies program at Virginia State University. And I'm stopping there because his list of activities and accomplishments are grand and long, and we're going to hear it straight from him. James, thank you so much for being with us today.
I'm glad to be here. I'm excited, again, because I was prepped properly.
Well, we're excited to have you here with us.
Oh, man.
And what I'll do is start with where we met, because we met in Boston. You were a student at Berkeley School of Music. And if you will, let me do my disclaimer right now. Gates, I did not attend Berkeley School of Music.
Boy, you just took the words out of my mouth, because Marcia, I was going to tell you again, when I met V, I could have sworn, man, that she's just another person at Berkeley, because she fit right in.
No, I'm not. My friend Keith Gibson, we call Bro Gibb, was the student at Berkeley, and I was the visitor. So no, but I definitely met some very interesting people when I was there, and you were one of them. So I want you to talk to us a little bit about your experience at Berkeley. A lot of times Marcia and I are talking about subjects that people don't want to talk about. We have the uncomfortable, we have those uncomfortable conversations about race and dismantling racism and, writing, not the word right, not like writing, but writing social injustices. So talk a little bit about when you went to Berkeley School of Music.
Well, I got to first of all let you know how I got there.
I was about to ask.
How I got there, I had full scholarship to go to Virginia State University. Now, how I got to Virginia State University, my baseball coach got me a full scholarship at Virginia State University in music. Now that's a long, I was
that happened.
Well, I did.
And it's very interesting because yesterday Robin Eubanks was with us, trombonist Robin Eubanks, and Robin Eubanks wanted to play baseball. That's what he wanted to do. He wanted to have a career in baseball. So funny that you should say that. Sorry for interrupting.
No, but Mom told me this. She said, listen, all of us, I'm the youngest out of 5 boys. She said, listen, this is going to be the law. Everybody's going to do music. You're going to do some kind of art, and you will do sports. And she told us why. She told us that, first of all, because Mom was a dancer for the Cotton Club in New York. Daddy played the saxophone. She said, the reason why you're going to do sports, because you got to learn how to be able to go and take command from somebody else other than your parents. And it may not be something that you like, but that's what you got to learn, how to socialize with other people and know how to be able to go and say, yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. No, sir. No, ma'am. So I did sports, and I wrestled for 6 years. I played baseball. I did track and field. I did football and music, all of it in one big melting pot in high school. So that's how I got to go to Virginia State. My baseball coach said no. He allowed me to play music, to do the national anthem, whether it was at home or away. He had me to go play my saxophone during practice and after practice.
Oh, wow.
So he said, I know this guy is musically inclined. That's what he wanted to do. So he went to Virginia State, got me full scholarship. Then I didn't finish. I did 2 years at Virginia State, and I transferred to Berkeley with a full scholarship. Didn't pay no money. That's how I got to Berkeley. And I got to tell you, my first week at Virginia State, Now, you see if you can picture this right here, Marsha. My first week at Virginia, at Berkeley, I learned more in 1 week than I learned 2 years at Virginia State.
Really? Wow. Oh.
And it's because of the people. It's because of the amount of students that you have that I felt as, oh, this home.
Uh-huh.
That means everything I'm hearing, other people hear the same thing.
Yeah. So you have made a change, I'm sure, at Virginia State University, so that no other student will leave there and ever say that.
That's right.
Yeah. That's very impactful. And so you get to Berkeley. Oh, Marsha, you said?
Well, on the note of what you just said, Vivienne, I'm wondering, so how long have you been teaching at Virginia State University now?
Since 2011.
Okay. All right. Yeah, we talked about Berkeley and your progress. And I want to tell you, James, I want to mention to you while you're telling your story that here in King George, Virginia, your talk is going to be incredibly inspirational because there is a group at the Mount Bethel Retreat Center who has started a Jazz in the Country Festival. And they started it in 2019. It's their annual fundraiser to upgrade that property. It's a Black-owned property and has been since the late 1800s.
Okay.
And so this is their method of fundraising and bringing community activity, an opportunity for jazz music in this community, in this rural county. And so, I'm also hoping that people will listen to this podcast and learn a bigger picture about an appreciation of jazz as they listen to musicians like yourself.
Right. Well, I got to tell you this so everybody would know, and V know this. Marsha, I don't know how much you know about when we said the word project. Do you know what that is?
I would appreciate your explanation.
You have like Compton, LA. You've heard Compton, LA? Compton?
Compton. Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, this is a suburb, Black neighborhood. There's the poverty level, the censorship, they don't even acknowledge those who live in the projects. It's just that low, meaning the living condition. Mm-hmm. That's how I grew up. I grew up in the projects.
Oh, which one? In Richmond?
Fairfield Court.
Oh, really? I had friends
Court.
that lived in Fairfield Courts.
Yeah.
In Richmond, Virginia.
Uh-huh.
Right. We were the first tenants to move in Fairfield Court on Selden Street.
Really?
Well, no streets and nothing, just dirt.
Yeah.
That was it.
What year was that?
Well,
I was born in 59, but they was there before I was born.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Very interesting. Never knew that.
Yeah, but the reason why I say there was so much passion, because many of the students that I would have in my class, especially in Virginia State, they would let me know that they come from, certain type of neighborhoods or their living conditions, either the hood or the projects, and they would think that I'm middle class. So they would say, Professor Gates, you have no idea what it's like to live in the project. Hey, stop it. Let's cut it now. And I would give them, say, we're going to Google Fairfield Court in Richmond, Virginia, because where I live, 2353, Selden Street is where I was born and raised. Let's Google that, because it still exists.
Yes.
So when they see that, instantly, I get respect.
Right.
Instantly.
Because they know you can relate to them.
Yes.
Then they know that their professor isn't thinking that they are inferior to them, and I actually get that from my students. We grew up in a rural town, so there were no projects, but my students, I always relate to them on their level. Yeah. And people really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So okay, so moving back to
I'm gonna say something on that too. I think it's highly inspirational for people to realize, because of how our society labels people, and makes these
Ooh.
judgments that people from certain areas will just never amount to anything or whatever like that, then this is so much evidence of what a lie that is. When you were talking earlier, Vivienne, about let's right these wrongs,
right?
That is such a huge wrong. That's just contaminating people's lives over and over and over. That I really appreciate that you've revealed that today, because it's going to be so inspirational to people who have been told by society that you're never going to amount to anything.
Okay, watch this right here. Have you ever heard the saying, don't judge a book by its cover?
Yes.
All right. Now, I had to do I helped a particular person to try to see if he could win a particular seat, a delegate in Richmond, Virginia. And this was the first time I ever had to do any kind of speaking engagement in front of a lot of politicians. And I was so excited because I knew, when you get on a Zoom and you have a lot of the politicians, they had the shirt tied up, they had the necktie on, and they were squeezing, everybody was talking real, so instantly, other than having the information, the stuff that you just finished reading about myself, if we took that away, they would have instantly thought the same kind of stuff I'm talking about. For example, when we look at your zip code.
Yes.
See, because I'm, where I was born is 23223. That zip code, when it goes out, automatically that looks at it in terms, because it's a Black neighborhood. So they already put you in that pigeon box, to already assume that knowledge or educationally, you're not there.
Right.
Exactly. Exactly. We call it social determinants of health in nursing. Because both Masha and I are nurses, but not only are we nurses, but Masha is a mental health nurse practitioner. So, which is kind of why she is much better at picking up on things that you're saying and bringing them to the forefront. Yeah. Because she's always thinking about those type things, but yes, they do it all the time. And, I work with politicians all the time. And that's kind of how it is. But when you get around them and that necktie is not so tight, just like everybody else.
That's right. That's right.
Just like everybody else. But people have the tendency to put you in these boxes and think that you, don't have the education or the knowledge or any of that, So,
I brought that up to kind of segue into Berkeley.
Yeah.
Right. Because, when I got my master's, I was the valedictorian of my class. And when I go back and tell people that I grew up in the projects, that I had, it was because of my baseball coach, how I even started my journey for education. Came to Virginia State with I hadn't to pay anything. I had maybe a 3.1 average. Then I went to Berkeley. And Berkeley at that time, Marsha, back in 1980, it was $25,000 per semester to go to Berkeley then. So I didn't pay no money to go. Then, and from education standpoint, then when I got my master's, still ain't had to pay. Projects now, but I never paid no money to go in, to no education. So when I had a tendency to start talking to these politicians and asking this one question, I said, well, let me ask you a question. How many people that's on this Zoom right now can tell me that you went to whatever institution free? But none of y'all lived in the projects.
Right.
But you went to Princeton. Did you go to Princeton? Did you still have to pay? Did you go to Notre Dame? Whatever the institution, did you still have to pay? All right, so don't judge me.
Exactly.
After I finished talking to them, oh man, they all wanted, and I played.
Of course.
I got to play. And the first thing I did, I played first. Because I didn't want to do any talking from the politician. I want y'all to listen to me first.
Exactly.
And after I finished talking and playing, can I get your email? Can I get this? Right. But next time you play, can we hang out? Then let's start talking my language. And I'm like, look, I'm a musician. You got to talk my language.
Right. But see, the problem is they may not have a how can I say it? I'm not trying to say a typical, that's not what I'm trying to convey here. But they could have met you and never heard you play, didn't know you were a musician or any of that. And so I think what you're trying to say is they may not have given you the time of day.
Yep, absolutely.
But number one, you are a musician, and I know that they absolutely enjoyed every bit of whatever you played.
Oh, it was a whole nother dialogue that was going on. It was a whole nother conversation. I mean, how they actually came to me to talk to me was totally different after that.
Right. And see, Marsha, this is sort of what you were talking about when Hilton and I did the post conversation.
Yeah.
And we were talking about how, you look at people and you think that just because a few Black people were successful, that I can't remember exactly what point you were making, but it had to do with people thinking just because a few people are successful that the other people that are not successful are lazy or they don't want to do anything.
It creates a harsher judgment on people in a way, because there's then this insinuation that, see, if you just got to work hard, you just have to apply yourself, there's not the understanding of the bigger picture of what's really happening, the systemic issues that are at play that are interfering with people being able to make appropriate progress.
Right.
But see, James had the opportunity was there, and that was why he was able to get the full ride. Not only did he have the opportunity, but he had people that were looking out for him. Well, I can tell you right now that that is not the case for most.
No, it is not.
That is not the case for most.
No, it's not.
So, so it's really good to hear these stories, but also to keep us focused in to the fact that it is not that way for everybody.
No, it's not. And it's funny that you mentioned that. I mean, before we carry on and start talking more about Berkeley, Marsha, today, if it wasn't for, I have a lot of mentors, a lot of mentors, men who really just took the time out to just want to help. Now, maybe I'm a little different, because if there was anybody that said that they wanted to help me with anything, or when I was coming up in the ranks, when I was practicing a lot at home, we had people that would come in the house, and since I'm a junior, they would call me Junior. And they would say, Junior, listen, you're starting to sound good. I know good and well I was not sounding good. I knew that. But they said, listen, I'm going to come back in about 3 hours. So whatever that you was already practicing, I'm going to sit right here and I'm going to listen to you. And all I've ever said, okay, that was it. So again, I was a little different, because anytime anybody said anything, they was interested in me doing anything, all I said was, okay. That was it. So today, V, we had for the last maybe week and a half, because now we have like students coming back to Virginia State. We have this one student who has, some special needs, but he's really smart. So the parents called me and said, listen, you've been recommended they didn't call me to say who was, but you was recommended highly to make sure you can be able to go and spend some time with my son, because they said that you know how to have patience. So I drove my car today, went to Virginia State just to spend some time with this one kid, so that he can feel at ease. Like I'm talking now, I want him to feel, look, man, I got you. And tomorrow Sunday, I'm going to be with him Sunday. I'm going to walk around campus with him so that he'll know exactly where to go, so he won't have to feel, stressed out.
Oh, that's wonderful.
But that's the way I grew up. That's the kind of melting pot that, you know, I wanted to be able to go bring the students, because that's what they did to me.
Yeah.
That's what everybody did to me. I would have never even thought about trying to get no education, but what's for my baseball coach.
That's
Wow.
something.
He started it. He started it.
Who was your coach?
Coach Pitts. Coach Ethan Pitts. And I say it like that again because I'm only just giving you just a small version.
Right.
My first record, you know, because he did so much for me.
Yeah.
Anytime I would come home from Berkeley, he would say, June, maybe can you come over to my house and play for my mother? And his mom, I think she died when she was 106 or something like that.
Wow.
But he wanted me to just to come over, just to play. And she would wait. Where is Mr. Gates? I'm waiting for him right now. Where is he? So him and his wife, one day, my first record, I just went over just to see how they was doing. And they said, listen, you have blessed us so richly. Here's $900 in cash.
Oh, wow. That's so wonderful.
So Marcia, when you have people who have done that of color, I mean, they didn't ask to pay me back or nothing like that. They didn't even know I was getting ready to go do my first record. Mm-hmm. They said that you have always made sure that this instrument is your life. Mm-hmm. So we're going to bless you with something. So why is it that I can't do the same thing for somebody else?
That's right. Pay it forward. Pay it forward. That's what I always say.
So that's what Berkeley did for me. Oh, man. I mean, just the school really helped me become to be a man. Mm-hmm. It helped me to be able to realize that what I got was really something special versus feeling like I'm cursed. Because, you know, when I was in high school, I was kind of special. I guess people say, because, you know, everywhere I went, the home was bigger than me, so I would drag my Saxsmo case down the hallway. I go to the bathroom with it. I went to the lunchroom with it. I went everywhere with my saxophone. So you see that this kind of special. People looking at it's kind of funny.
It's kind of wrong.
Come wrong. So I would feel that, you know, many times I didn't go outside to play with anybody. No joke, V. I didn't want to play with anybody.
Yeah.
All I wanted to do is play my horn because people that would tease me, I mean, ferociously, they would tease me. They would tease me because they would say, "Oh, that's that real black boy that played the saxophone." I ain't had no name. Didn't have a name now.
The real black boy.
Right. So that would stay in my head going, oh, man, they don't even know who I am. So that made me stay even more so to my instrument. Now, once I started to play and people started noticing that I was first chair all district, first chair all regional, first chair all state with a $300 saxophone, then people started noticing, okay, something's okay. I see what's going on with him. So when I got to Berkeley, it was home, man, because I'm like, man, there's another person over here is like me. It's another person over there is like me. Oh my God, it's another person right here. So I never felt that anybody was any different than me. Mm-hmm. So that was home. That was, man.
So tell us some of the people that went to Berkeley during the time that you were there.
This is a laundry list.
I know. First of all, Marsha, I want you to know that when Gates was at Berkeley,
oh my God,
I've never seen any other group of people come out. At Berkeley, as gifted and talented, and with the camaraderie that these guys had at Berkeley.
It was like the golden years. They call that like the golden years, because I'm gonna call some names and V, you can just chip in because it's so many. I can't think of everybody.
In the 80s?
80s, yeah,
1980.
All right.
What year did you graduate from Berkeley? Which year?
84.
In 84. Okay. So that'll tell you a little bit about it. Okay, so who are some of the people that were at Berkeley when you were at Berkeley?
The very first person I met, that first day when my mom decided to leave and I was waving, going, Mom, it was Branford. He was the first person that I met.
Okay.
First person. Then after that, I mean, the list just got longer.
Yeah, it did.
Tucson, John Tucson, Greg Osmond, Walter Beasley, Makoto Ozone, Curtis Williams, what's her name?
Lenora was there, right?
Right, Lenora. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. It's just too many. What's his name? Bone.
Yeah, Tim Bone. Yeah, he played
right.
Bone too.
With Lance Bryant.
Yeah.
Oh my. Ooh.
I think Monte Croft was there.
Yeah, Monte Croft was there.
Cyrus Chestnut.
These
are all people.
What's her name? Layla Hathaway.
Oh, that's right. I forgot Layla Hathaway.
Yeah, Layla Hathaway. I mean, it's we just called some bass players. What's his name? Ira Coleman. And what was the bass player that was played with Weather Report?
Wait a minute.
He was good friends with Alex Bunyo. He was there.
Yeah.
I can't take his name.
Now that's terrible. That both
Jeff Watts was there. Marvin Spinach Smith was there.
Jeff Tane Watts, yes.
It's the laundry list, Marsha, is unbelievable. Oh, what's his name? Tig that plays the vocalist. Now he took over Maurice White's spot, the sing.
Wind and Fire.
Right. We call him Tigger.
Mm-hmm.
He sings. It just gets longer. It's too many people.
And at the graduation, Quincy Jones did the commencement speech, right? Didn't Quincy Jones do the commencement? Yeah.
Well, see, now Quincy did the commencement the year before I graduated.
Now, you graduated after Keith, right?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, he did it for Keith.
Right, the very next year, I had the Oscar Peterson.
That's right.
I had Oscar Peterson. So, the time at Berkeley, we learned more from the students. Mm-hmm. The faculty, everybody could play.
Right.
Everybody could smash. Everybody could do that thing. Jimmy Mosher and Phil Wilson, and oh my God, it's just had a laundry list. So you respected your instructors because they could play. Even we had actors and actresses who was teaching, drama classes. And most of the time on the weekends.
That I didn't know.
On the weekends, they would leave, take a flight on Fridays back to LA.
Uh-huh.
And they come back on Sunday night for class early Monday morning. So everybody was active, and it was just incredible. I mean, listen, my first, let me see if I can say this right. Virginia State, I had 77 credits. When I got to Berkeley said, I don't care if you had 700 credits. We're not taking any of it. We have our own curriculum. We believe in our own brand. So, Marsha, I did 6 years straight of undergrad.
Oh, wow.
And did mine.
Oh, wow. Now, you know who you didn't mention here, and you should be ashamed of yourself. Your roommate.
Oh, Freddie Fox. Oh, my God. Oh, my goodness.
How can you not mention?
Look, I got to say, now, Freddie Fox became my roommate my second semester. Mm-hmm. I had another guy named Aaron Hike. Oh, my goodness. He was, he was from Seattle. Woo!
He could play.
Ooh. The boy was ridiculous. I had never heard other than listening to Bradford, I've never heard a saxophone played like that. I mean, never seen anybody play like that.
Wow.
And then when he moved out, then me and Freddie became roommate, and oh my God. I mean, he's amazing. I mean, we would share. Do you know what shared is, Marsha?
I told her I was going to teach her. We ended our conversation yesterday with Robin Eubanks saying that if nurses would shed on how to provide care to patients at the bedside as much as jazz musicians shed. So go ahead and give her the lesson about shedding.
Okay, all right. From like back in even the early 1900s, even before then, but I'm just gonna talk about the 1900s. In order for slaves, for them to be able to go, musicians, we never worked in the field. But we were beat now. We were beat up badly if you did not perform on that level and you did not play the music that on that level that you needed to get right. So the money that we made, not only we took care of our family, but the money that the musician made took care of the community. Because those slaves didn't make no money.
Right.
0. So the musicians, they made money to take care of everybody. Just want to make sure we drop a little pin right there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So the shed was this. Out in the outhouse where you had the mules and the cattle and all the ugly stuff in this little barn. The barn most of the time didn't have a door. You had no air conditioning, you had no heat, none of that. But the musicians, with all of that, even when they had to use the restroom, we had a hole in the ground. So you can imagine when it's hot outside, what that area smelled like. Didn't matter. You had to play and perform on that level. So that was the shed. You had all hay, you had chickens, roosters, you had all kinds of, everything you can think of was right there. So you had to practice. We didn't call it practicing. So you had to go out in that shed right there to make sure that you execute what it is that you need to perform before it happens. Because if you didn't perform on that level, then it was not pretty. Sometimes you had the tongue cut out. Sometimes you had your eyes pierced. Like sometimes they brand you, but they didn't just brand you so you can be able to have a brand on you. They brand your eye. They did some very horrible stuff to musicians.
Yes.
And those musicians, a lot of musicians, there was never, you never knew their names and didn't know who they were. But that was our job to make sure. So that's when we say shed, that means, Marsha, that means that it's life. It's not just practice. Practice is a formality. When you have to execute to the highest level, which means you have no room for mistake.
Hold that thought for a second.
Yes.
Check this out. Check
oh! Oh! That is my teacher. That's my teacher. Oh, V, you messed me up. So you did that.
From Berkeley? Now this is
Berkeley.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh!
So for our audio listeners, let me just say that we've got
Mr.
Berklee is joining us, who is a teacher from Berkeley, a professor from Berkeley.
Oh, man.
James Gates.
That's my teacher right there.
James was just telling us what shedding was. Now he's crying because
man. Make my head sweat now.
And see here,
oh man,
here we not only
that's my dog right there.
Zoom, we also are doing an audio for her podcast, for Marsha's podcast, of whom she has made me co-host graciously.
Oh man, you messed me up real nice.
But I knew it was gonna mess you up. I told you, didn't I tell you?
Oh man, this is gosh. Woo!
How you doing, James? How are you?
Let me wait a minute.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, man. I'm here. I am doing better now. Oh my goodness. We got my man up in here. Oh man. Oh.
So,
man.
Why don't we let you introduce for our listeners? Why don't you introduce Mr. Beer Pierce over here?
Oh my God, man. I mean,
And then we
can't
do
even
need
do
to go back to what you were talking about too, because that's critical information.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
information
And then
that I
and-
have never heard. And so I know that there are millions of others that have never heard this information that you were
Yeah.
just sharing with us. So yeah, please
Yeah,
do an
go back to
assessment, but let's
shedding
please
and
go
then
back. Yes.
and then I'll introduce Phil. How about that?
yeah. Well, you know, that's my teacher. That's how I'm going to introduce you. I don't, you know, that's my look. Everything I'm teaching my students right now. Bill, you remember in our lessons, there were things that you wrote out, but you only wrote like maybe 2 measures.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said, okay, you need to fill out the rest. And I kept them. I kept everything that you wrote, everything. And I have look, and they like, okay, you know, Gates. No, that's just Gates. You know, he's real enthusiasm right now. There's a lot of stuff, man. I'm like, no, let me put on the records so y'all can see who I'm talking about. His name says it right there. So now when they put the pieces together and they see it, they go, oh yeah, okay, you know, Gates know what he's talking about.
Of course, because Mr. B appears.
Oh my God, man.
I still need you to go back for our listeners.
Okay.
And finish talk. Okay, so you stopped at, you know, you really had wrapped it up, really. And we were just talking about shedding and what shedding was all about. And
right.
so
Can I ask a couple historical questions
Yes.
in that regard? So there's a lot going through my mind in that regard. Like I said, that is new information to me. And you said this was in the early 1900s?
Well, even before that, I'm just giving you one particular piece, but it happened way before that. I mean,
he was talking about during slavery time.
We were musicians when we was brought over. So a lot of those things took place before then. I'm just talking about when jazz was actually implemented in America.
Yes.
You know, that's when a lot of stuff took place here in America when we had to go in. People said practice, but you know, no, we had to hit the shed. And Bill, I was letting them know that the significance of the difference between practice and shedding.
Right.
It's not even, it's nowhere near the same. It's not even.
And then psychologically speaking in that regard, I mean, when you're under that type of pressure, how can you even enjoy what music is? You know, I just can't even imagine what that was like.
Well, I mean, just speaking from my own personal experience, I can't live without me being able to shed every day. I'm like a walking corpse if I don't do it.
So tell her what shedding is today. I mean, what it's like for you today.
Well, it's like in your profession, Marshall, if you don't really execute, you know, properly on the information that you know, so you can share with your patients. You know, it's a daily, you know, progress, you know, because there's more information that's always out. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like if you were a doctor and you had to go and do surgery on somebody's brain, man, if you don't really keep up those kind of things, you really could kill somebody.
Yes.
Right.
You know, right. It's not a real pretty thing. So in order to keep up the essence of the stuff that you already know, you have to keep up with that every day. Yeah. And then you have to be able to add more. So that happens in, you know, like right here, you know, you can create the shed anywhere. You know, I mean, I practice in the closet, I practice in the bathroom, I practice in the shower, I practice anywhere. You know,
how long do you practice a day? How many hours do you put in, or you don't have a limit?
No, there's no limit. I mean, sometimes it can be 30, sometimes it can be 4 hours, sometimes it still can be. I mean, it really depends on how much time you got, you know, and then if it's 30 minutes and you know you got to go somewhere and do something else, but that shed time is not finished. You still, I mean, it could be 3 a.m. You get up and you hear something that you just, you know, I mean, you can ask Mr. Pierce, man, you can ask him. I mean, I'm sure, because he is just absolutely, man, that's my man.
Brilliant. Okay,
How long has it been since you guys have seen each other?
Oh, man.
A couple of years, I think.
You were in Richmond.
Yeah.
Richmond, yeah.
And I tried to tell Gates when you were in Richmond, Gates, you need to come up closer. He's sitting all the way in the back. That's why when they first announced him to come on stage, it took him so long to get up there because he was all the way in the back of the room.
That's where they had me. They put me way in the back.
but for our listeners, I just want to just let you know that I don't even like the write-up that they have here, is an excellent saxophonist. I would say he is beyond excellence.
No, man.
And he also worked as an educator. And here's something I didn't know about you, Cousin Bill. Okay, so he started off his career in Boston playing R&B with Stevie Wonder and Marvin Gaye.
Oh, I knew that. That's right.
Did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
Now, when I met you, you were with James Williams, and James Williams was one of his very, very best friends.
Yes.
Who has passed. And then, and I missed you. I think you might have played for Art Blakey maybe 1 year after I was introduced to him, because I was introduced to Winton and Branford first by Dr. George Butler at CBS Records.
Okay. Yeah, that was around the same time, yeah.
Yeah, but I was close friends with Donald Harrison and Terrence Blanchard.
Yeah.
So I met Art through them. And then Art became my daughter's godfather. It was never anything that was legal. he just took her and said, "This is my goddaughter." Okay.
Yeah,
So,
Art did that. He was good for that, yes.
Yes, but look, the stories that we will have to talk about Art, we will have to do another podcast. We had Robin Eubanks on here yesterday, and Robin Eubanks talked a little bit about him, but look, it would take us 2 or 3, part 1, part 2, and part 3 and 4 to talk about Art Blakey and all of the things that we learned, just from his conversations.
Yeah.
Just from talking to him.
He was a guy that, I don't know if this is in kind of going along with the stream of consciousness or the stream of conversation that's going on. But yeah, Art was such, if you were around him, you could appreciate the, what is it? I can't think of a word now, I'm tired. But the radiance that he exuded, but also the knowledge and the life force. You knew this guy had done something. You knew this guy had lived a life. And no matter what the circumstances was or were, he could kind of summarize everything into maybe one sentence or one paragraph. He was trying to make everything really simplified. And sometimes it didn't make sense at the moment, but if you really thought about it, said, oh yeah, now I get it. But I was lucky enough to spent 3 years with him on a regular basis when I played with him. And I learned a lot. I mean, I was actually 29, I think. So I was later on in life than a lot of guys when I did. And I left school. I left teaching. I was teaching then. And I was with Art. And a lot of things that I hear what Gates is talking about in terms of about the shed and the whole concept about being a musician and taking care of your necessities. I mean, the things you have to do to be always performing. And you get to a point where you, like me, I'm 72 now. So it's not quite the idea of always being in a shed is not so strongly with you 24/7. But every now and then you realize, well, I haven't done it. So you get back into it, and then you back off on another tangent. So that's like me right now. I'm practicing, and I got a gig tomorrow, and I want to make sure I sound fairly good. I may not sound as good as I used to sound, but I want to sound as good as I can sound.
Well, my question is there ever a point when you think that you're not good? That's a crazy question, but
if you think you're not, or what?
No, is there ever a time when you think that you're not as good as you should be?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, that's what propels you, and that's what motivates you to get better, or at least bring yourself up to the baseline level of you need to be. As a musician, most musicians who really had a performing career will feel like that. Now, there are some guys, even like the really super masters like Tony Williams, who used to always say, well, what? I heard you practicing, man. You still practice? I said, yeah, here in hotels. Said, of course. And he was acting like, like, I don't do that. That was what he was inferring. But then again, I found out that Tony was practicing all the time. And if we did certain gigs versus other bands and other drummers, we could tell, oh, he's been practicing, because his level, which was like, let's say like 99%, would be 99.99 if he's been practicing. I said, so, it's just, it's something in all of us. And you do get to a point where your baseline kind of maintains, I think, but sometimes I'll think that and I'll go and listen to a recording and say, So, you always have to replenish the things that make you who you are as a musician. And I would imagine in any field of endeavor, that's the way it is and the way it should be. I mean, if you're serious about what you want to do and what you profess to be, is I'm a musician, then I have to practice. I mean, that's what I got to do. Otherwise, I'm a little less than what I should be or what I could be. And some people are crazy about it. I mean, I know a lot of guys who, maybe James, who just are always practicing, always constant. And some people who just have another approach to it. And there's a way you can do it by just the way you think about it.
Yeah.
George Coleman was a guy, or is a guy, because he's still here, who I asked other musicians, other great musicians who were playing, I said, man, what does George practice? And they say, well, I don't know if George really practices, but he thinks about it all the time. So everybody has different processes that they do that to get them right. For me, it's got to be a little bit more physical. I got to touch the instrument, and I got to have it in my mouth, because of the musculature around the embouchure, at 72 is not quite the same at 52, or certainly not 32. So you gotta get the right. Okay, you must call me for a gig.
Exactly. Somebody's calling him for a gig. He's in trouble though.
Yeah. But anyway, that's just some of my thoughts about it. And lately, I've been I'll tell you something. When I'm practicing, I feel a lot better.
Yeah.
I feel a lot better. Otherwise, I feel like I'm a little less than what I should be, or I'm not particularly. Not particularly happy with myself if I'm not practicing. At least a little bit. At least an hour or 30 minutes to an hour and a half, 2 hours. When I do that, I feel really good. I feel like I've done my life's work yet again, or I've done the things that maintain what I've been working at all these years.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things I wanted to do, Masha, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask, because they come from two, we kind of in the same era, but I wanted to ask Bill about what it was like when he first started playing, as far as, the whole segregation thing. And then I want to ask James to share something about that.
Well, I came up during the 50s and the 60s, so it was as bad as it ever could have been. And, but, being like, somebody asked me a question like this a long time ago, and they said, well, what was it like? And I said, well, I had a great childhood. I said, really? They were surprised. That because our parents tried to keep that from us. They try to protect us. And so I grew up in the country in northern Florida, and I was just a country boy running around, no shoes on. If I could get away with it, my mother didn't allow that, but I would do it because all my friends did it, and swimming holes and, jumping on people's cattle or livestock, which people particularly like doing that. So I had a really country boy life because I did live in a pretty rural town. My mother taught in a small town. So a lot of the things about segregation and about the racial divide, you learn right away, and you learn how to navigate it. You just can't help but learn it, because it, unless you're really not too bright, you'll figure out and there's certain things, certain lines you cross, sometimes you don't realize it. And in some cases, it doesn't really matter. But you kind of learn the parameters of what is and what isn't. So in terms of playing, I didn't really start playing professionally until I was till about 66. So things were different, and it was started around Nashville. I did a little bit in Miami when I finished high school, but wasn't playing clubs. I was 16 years old. I couldn't play in a club. I mean, I probably could have gotten away with it, but I did start playing around little juke joints and joints in Tennessee and Fort Campbell, Kentucky, where all the guys were shipping out to Vietnam. So I got a chance to do that. So by the time I started playing professionally, the barriers of racial segregation in music were changing. I can't say they disappeared, but they were changing because that was during the period of time when things were actually becoming different to some degree. Mm-hmm. So once I started, it was different. But, I grew up under strict segregation. I knew what it meant. I knew how to deal with it. I knew how my parents did with it. I mean, sometimes where my father would, have a gun sitting in the front yard with a rifle. And he was an educated man, but he was also a World War II veteran, so he wasn't about to go back on any level. So I mean, you get a sense of a lot of different things. I could talk for years about it, about how it affected me. But the main thing was that the more I got in music, the more I start to see the world as a little larger or more inclusive. Even these words don't mean anything, inclusive and all that stuff, but it was like that because I started meeting people from different backgrounds. I met white people, I met people from other backgrounds, and music being music, it kind of helped to. It was something that united us in one way or the other. It was still there, and occasionally you would really get slapped in the face with real hardcore stuff. But music for me was the thing that really kind of allowed me to see another side of life. Mm-hmm. I mean, when I got my consciousness about who I was as a Black person really happened when I went to Tennessee State, because I started to really think about it and read. I read the autobiography of Malcolm X, mm-hmm. and a lot of different things. And I got another way of thinking. Wow, I never thought about it that way. But also during that period of time, I started to meet other people from other backgrounds. And because of music, it helped to me to get into the late 60s and the 70s and be in LA and play for Motown and stuff like that, and just see another side of life. I actually got to Canada. I went out of the country. I went to Montreal. Yeah, that's my first time going out of the country. That was a big deal. Now I can drive to Montreal in about 6 hours. But it's all because of music. I mean, I was fortunate. James will say the same thing. Music teaches you so many things. It teaches you all about yourself. It teaches you about human nature. And it actually teaches what's really significant and what isn't. Mm-hmm. That might be one of the really important things about being a musician, and pursuing this thing.
Yeah. So James, what about your experience?
Well, I was pretty much protected because everything you just said, man, was me being the youngest out of 5 boys. Dad was a musician, mom the dancer. The neighborhood protected me from being out there for having bad stuff to take place. I'm born in 59. And so when it came to be growing up in the 60s, you need to stay close to home, and when it became to be, as soon as the sun went down, you need to be in the house.
Right. When the street light goes out, you have to be in the house.
Yeah, because there were things, Marsha, that took place that, and it existed. You started wondering, but where is John? We don't see him no more. Well, it's because something took place. Yeah. So I was, so I was really protected by not allowing those kind of things to come in front of me. So when in terms of playing music, I played music in the neighborhood. It wasn't that I had to go out. You had to stay in. We still had our bands. But when that time came for that sun came down, or when you played out, you know, it was strict because a lot of the older folks were very protective. And they're like, look, you need to make sure you be home at a certain hour. If you're not, we come to look for you.
Mm-hmm.
We come to get you, you know, because things were still pretty bad as a young kid at the time. But music was everything for me. I mean, that's the only thing I ever wanted to do because this never talked back to me. It never said anything bad to me. You know, it always made me feel like everything is gonna be all right. You know, I can talk to it. You know, it didn't say anything back to it. I imagine it was gonna say something. I imagine it was gonna say something, but it didn't. But you know, because
you felt empowered. It sounds like your horn, you know, empowered you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gave you a sense of empowerment.
Right. So, you know, again, now the only time I ever experienced anything really on a race, I mean, deeply, is when I went to Boston. I had
in those years, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's when I experienced it.
In the 80s?
Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
Is that because of what both of you have spoken into, both you, Bill and James, about that you avoided any trouble? You knew how to navigate the system of segregation to protect yourself and avoid the potential risks? Is that why?
Well, sort of. In the South, yes. But in the North, in a city like Boston, if you didn't really know the ethnic sort of pockets of Boston and how you had to deal with, you would assume that it would be okay. But it was very rigidly, it was Italian, it was Greek. I mean, and they all were very protective and it could be very dangerous, although I started playing some of the real hardcore Irish parts, like South Boston and stuff like that. And clubs and bands. Yes, it was pretty rough. But I was the only black guy in the band. And a band member would tell the thug, said, don't mess with him. If you mess with him, then you're gonna have to mess with all of us. So I witnessed that, which was kind of interesting in a lot of ways. That's how, I mean, and it just, I was in Boston when a lot of the things that were so regimented, and so I can't think of the right word, how all the neighborhoods were so I can't think of the right word, but the way they were, it started dissipating a little bit. And I mean, to the point now where South Boston, which used to be pretty much all white, and actually when I went to Boston, I saw white projects and I was like, what? And the Mary McCormick project in South Boston was just like any project anywhere in America, except there were white people there. And it was tough. It was hardcore. This is where all the gangsters came from. It was where Whitey Bulger and all those kind of guys, that's where they came from. So there's a parallel. And, you know, you want to get deep, you can call about the socioeconomic sort of paradigm and platform of the country. Right. You get into all of that, how, you know, there's a lot of things similar to a lot of people. If you ain't got any money, you know, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm not that deep. I'm not a sociologist, so I don't really talk about that. But I've seen it enough to get an idea. Yeah, there's something to that. Yeah, I was in Boston to see the change in the transformation. Now, I mean, Boston now, for whatever you want to say, all the mayoral candidates are all women, except maybe for one poor guy, and they're pretty much all women of color. So it's a different, it's pretty different. It's been a slow process, but in a lot of things, there's so much about the world and about the country that, you know, if you really dig deep enough, there's a whole lot of reasons for why things. A lot of times it's really about money more than anything. Yeah, that's right. But it is what it is, and I'm glad I've seen what I've seen. I mean, on every side of it. I'm glad I grew up the way I grew up. I'm glad I went to a historically Black university, at least for 2 years, and then I went to Berkeley. So I've had a pretty a pretty good experience in this country and as an American citizen. And I'm sometimes the only reason I've been a little surprised, but it's good. You can't get too complacent in what you think. You got to always know that the struggle always continues. It's always a struggle, basically for all of us. So, and now I have to go, but I just wanted to jump in, say hi, say hello to my buddy there, my main man.
Oh man, that's right.
And to my cuz up there. I am a Virginia born. I am.
That's right.
So anyway, you guys enjoy the rest of your time together, and it was a pleasure meeting you. What's your name again, there, young lady?
It's Marsha.
Marsha Stonehill.
Yeah.
Look at all those things behind your name.
Yeah, Marsha is a mental health nurse practitioner.
Wonderful.
So we're gonna get together at another time and talk about some things that we can do for musicians.
We can sure try anyway.
That's right.
So anyway, you guys enjoy the rest of the evening, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of it.
Oh,
thank you for being with us.
Love you, buddy.
Bye. I love you too, James. Man,
okay,
take care, brother.
All right, now.
I'll talk to you later, V. Bye.
Okay, bye.
Wow.
And James, I interrupted you when you were getting ready to share about the experience that you had in Boston.
Yes, I got, two, and they kind of go along with what Bill said, man. I mean, because most of my relatives were living in New York, and lived in Brooklyn. And there's certain places outside of Brooklyn you just didn't want to go. Just did not want to go. But I didn't know anything about Boston. I mean, I had various people here, V, once they found that I had a full scholarship to go to Berkeley, they're like, Gates, what you doing, man? Why are you doing that? Like, man, I'm gone. Bye. Thank you. I'm out. But after I had Fred and this other guy, the roommates when I first got there as a freshman. Then, my sophomore year, no, not my sophomore year, my junior year, because I only stayed one more semester before I moved down. It was three of us in the room. It was two white guys and then was me. And Marsha, I'll tell you that was the last draw for me. That was the last draw. I was V. I had the house gig down at the spot. They had Wallace.
Wallace. Yeah.
After Bud Rebels, after he left, Bud Rebels gave me the gig.
Oh, okay.
That's how I got it. And how Bud got it was Greg. Anyway,
Greg Osby.
Right. All right. So I would leave my room anytime during the day to go either downstairs, go down to practice down the hallways. And every time I would leave, that's when both of my roommates, they would start to talk louder when I left the room. When I would enter the room, they all would be quiet, like they never moved and never did anything. They really didn't say anything. So this time I decided I was going to do something. I was going to leave the room, supposedly, and I left the room, but I stood outside my door. And after when they started talking, I bust right back in. And one of the guys said this, I'm going to keep it real. He said, "You an effing nigger. Do you understand that? Do you know how black you are? You are a nigger." And he kept saying it. I thought that was the funniest thing because I ain't never heard it back home because I was kind of sheltered. I was sheltered from that kind of a thing. But then that happened. And after me, he kept saying it though. This is during the day. This is like on a Saturday, man. No, I take that back. It was on a Wednesday. Because every Wednesday we would have, I don't think you knew about this Wednesday. Every Wednesday we would meet. Prior to this semester, we had, a lot of the brothers and sisters would meet to just to find out if you needed any help with your homework. If there anything at all that goes on around the actual Boston area that you feel uncomfortable. So we would all meet so we could try to help each other.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the guy kept saying it. And after he kept saying it, I realized this guy meant what he said.
Yeah.
So I took me a chair, a regular chair, and I stuck it underneath the doorknob. And I said, well, since you said that now, no one leaves. No one is going to leave here. And I can't tell you what I said, but I said a whole lot. I said a whole lot of things to let him know, listen, man, you know, we are in this institution together.
Right.
Did you realize if that what you just said, see underneath that door, what's going to happen to you?
Yes.
I said, I tell you what, furthermore, I'll be right back. So I went down in the lobby, right in the 150 building. Everybody was there. You know, I saw Wendell Brooks.
Oh, yeah, Wendell.
Yeah, he was the writer. He was the writer for Mick Jagger. All right. I went to Wendell and I told Wendell, man, I got a roommate upstairs that called me a nigger, man. What? Everybody started going, telling everybody about what had happened in my room. I said, no, I need everybody to meet up in my room as soon as possible. So they came. Everybody came up there. Michael Stone.
Yeah, for some reason I remember the story. I heard about it.
Yeah, everybody came to my room.
The story.
And Marcy, when that happened, I opened the door and I said, now, I want you to tell them what you said to me. And I want you to say it to them exactly with your passion behind it, with your lip being all tight and you really just mean it. I want you to say it. If you don't say it, something's gonna happen.
Well, what I want to know is why did they think it was? I mean, why were they saying it? Why were they using the N-word? Why were they saying it to you?
Well, first of all, they didn't appreciate the idea that I even would come in the room because they started seeing each other.
Oh, okay. But they didn't want we're gonna keep their business out the street, but they didn't want to have a black roommate. Is that what you're saying?
Did not.
Okay, so they did not want a black roommate.
Did not.
And when you came in, and I really do remember people telling me about this story.
Yeah, it was
really bad because they had called you the N-word. I remember that.
Yeah, and I told him, I said, well, why are you explaining your information to them? Everybody, people, what's her name? Sheila. She came and the other people came in the room and I told them, I'm going to call your parents. I'm going to call your parents and tell them to come get you because you're not going to survive.
So whatever happened to them, did they leave or did you get put in another room?
No, I didn't get put in my room. No, I put him in the bathroom and I put the chair underneath the doorknob and told him, you're not coming out. You're going to stay there as long as until I feel like I want you to come out. So you change your words to come out of your mouth.
So you guys stayed roommates after that?
Well, because after that, man, he was, I want me for me to be scared. Because what everybody said to him to let him know, you have to apologize. He apologized to everybody. Anybody take it. No one believed him.
I could not have remained the roommate. I just could not. I don't know if Marsha, what about you? I don't know if I could have. I don't think I could have remained the roommate. So
he cried and all kinds of. The brothers and the sisters really they really put him to. They scared him straight.
Well,
when they left, I put him in the bathroom.
Oh, okay, I get it. Now, what you saying, Marsha?
I was gonna say, do you think that he really did learn anything?
That's what
any humility at all, or was
well, at that time I didn't think about what he's gonna learn in that. I just wanted his parents to come get him.
Yeah, well, of course.
They did.
Oh, they did.
They did. You was from West Virginia.
Okay.
And had the nerve to say, well, I will say the first time I got called the N-word was here in Virginia after I had lived up north and on the West Coast and everywhere. When I came here, I think it was in 2001, a young man rolled his window down and decided he wanted to call me that.
Yeah.
And my question is, how did that make you feel when the person said that? I mean, because I thought I wouldn't feel anything, Marsha. I really thought I would not feel anything, but oh my goodness.
See what she's saying right there, Marsha? See, that's why I laughed, because I didn't feel it. I had never had that to happen.
Yeah. Oh my
But he
God.
kept repeating it with anger, with vicious, almost like looking at a pit bull with stuff coming out of his mouth. It was harsh. And he kept saying, like, can you understand me? And he said it, but he kept, now it wasn't so much I was going to take it there. Now that was another incident that took place. Vivi, you remember when I was doing Dancing in the Streets?
Mm-hmm.
I did Dancing in the Streets, Motown musical. Mm-hmm. And we had a matinee on a particular Sunday. After we finished the matinee on the Sunday, you don't have too many trains and, cabs and buses. At a certain hour, we took the last one. And that was it. Mm-hmm. So I lived in Back Bay. And walking down there, I have the actual jacket with me now. Mm-hmm. Dancing in the Streets is a big, big Motown musical that actually went on Broadway. Mm-hmm. And, the jackets were made with black and had the actual cast symbol on the back of the jacket. You had Dancing in the Streets right here, and you had your name with all the instruments on it. So you couldn't miss it because it was advertised heavily. All right. I'm walking with my alto saxophone, tenor saxophone, flute, clarinet, piccolo, soprano. I got all of these instruments. You can barely walk. After that, coming from the train station in Back Bay, going home. Mm-hmm. And I had police cars came from every direction you can think of. And they cornered me on, I think it was Tremont. Yeah.
That's my street.
Right.
Yeah, I lived off of Tremont.
Cornered me and asked me. They got out, got the gun. Where you come from? Now, I mean, I lost it. I did. Look at this jacket. Read the jacket. Read it. What do you think it said? Look at the name right here. I got instruments. I got instruments on it. Where do you think I just came from?
Oh my gosh. So they thought you had stole. Well,
no.
Were they looking for a suspect for something?
Yes. They said that there was a short black guy or dark-skinned guy with a black jacket that wore glasses that beat up this Hispanic. Now I'm like, so everybody you see that's short, got black jacket on, I got about 6 instruments. What's in that case? Right. I said, what's in that case? I said, man, you couldn't even spell what's in this case. They had me open it up, saxophone, all these instruments.
Oh my goodness.
And then they locked me up, put me in the paddy wagon.
What?
And took me to the scene. Now I'm almost at home now, D. They took me to the scene away